There's this cat which is called Varjak Paw, and his family don't treat him well, just because he hasn't got yellow eyes and the rest of them have got green. And he wants to go outside, but they don't let him. I think it's a good book because Varjak is different to everybody else, and it proves that everybody doesn't have to be the same.
Varjak is the main character and he does everything. Like when he dreams, he goes into Mesopotamia with his ancestor, Jalal.
When we started reading Varjak Paw, initially I was reading the book and they were able to follow as I read. In some instances we did get the children to read, but I left the books there that the children could go over what we'd already read, and I had to be quite strict with them because they wanted to read on.
The first bit, it started off easy, but when they went in town and everything, it got a little bit harder, with the names and everything. I couldn't pronounce them properly, and then I just got better and better when the teacher read them. Sometimes it's worth keep going to learn new words, and if you come across it again.
We've got the author, SF Saeed, coming in to talk to the children about what inspired him to write the book and what inspired him to come up with the ideas for Varjak, and to read the first few chapters of the second book.
Chapter 1. It was winter in the city. Snow whipped down from the sky in icy flakes. It was too cold for snow to melt, so it covered everything in white. The rooftops and drainpipes, the back streets and alleys. A silver blue cat with amber eyes raced forwards through the streets. His name was Varjak Paw, and he'd been running as fast as he could. He loved being out in the city. He'd grown up indoors, a pet in a house. He'd always dreamed about living free and wild. Now his dreams were coming true. Beside him ran his friends, a spiky black and white cat called Holly, a shaggy chocolate brown one named Tam, and a huge black dog called Clutch. They knew the city better than Varjak. He was still learning how to survive on the streets. Thud. 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 Varjak's fur prickled. He thought he could hear something behind him. A cat's tail thumping? Something was moving. Someone was watching him. He turned. Thud! Oh. Now he knew what that noise was. Now, Varjak is about a kitten going out into the world and finding himself, who he is, and he becomes a cat. It's a rites of passage story in which a kitten grows up into a cat. So it's an intensely personal story, and all the questions are about me. Who am I? Where do I belong? The second book, I think, is much more a social or communal story. It's about us. It's about who are we, what should we do, how should we behave, how should we act. And it's about a community. So it's not really about kittens anymore, they're cats now. They're grown-ups, but they're grown-ups trying to decide how best to live in the world.
Writing a children's book isn't about writing something simple. It's about writing something very important and difficult, but in a quite simple way. Children's books have always used animals to carry a lot of things that it would be difficult for a human to carry. And I think this is just another very, very good example of that. Because the characters are entertaining, their sort of strutting and their sense of themselves. You know, you can identify with that.
How did you think of the way, the martial arts, the way?
Yeah, the way. 7 skills that make a cat a true cat. I guess what it comes down to is whenever I see cats out in a city, and particularly when they fight each other, it looks to me like something from a kung fu movie or a samurai film. You know, when you get the 2 opponents facing each other and they just try and stare each other down, and then maybe one of them draws his sword and slash, you know, he's killed the enemy. Cat fights often remind me of that kind of thing.
One of the striking things about Varjak Paw is that it's got absolutely fantastic illustrations, and that's very unusual for a book of this length. To have a novel, a real novel, illustrated is terrific.
It's important to me that all the elements of the production are compelling. It's not so much a question of illustration, but what you're doing with layout and text. In lots of different places, the illustrator has done things that makes text somehow more engaging. So this sequence here, Varjak is trying to talk to a car. What he's done here is something not really like conventional book illustration, where you have text, picture. Here it's completely integrated. As it becomes closer, the words are almost pushed off the page altogether. And all you have is this car that has now become really monstrous. This thing is about to eat him, and then cut, and wham. It's almost photorealistic. If you think about it, the camera which was there is now there, and we're seeing it from the side. And what we see right underneath the car is this tiny little cat just crouching. And that's where we've been for the last 4 pages. Now that to me is an extraordinary way of heightening a reader's involvement with the story. He's used every element of page design, white space, as well as illustration, to create something that works, I think, more like cinema than like conventional book illustration. Yeah.
Where did you get the name Varjak Paw from?
The name Varjak Paw, well, it came from a mishearing of a line in a film, because I watch a lot of films. I mean, I read a lot of books, but I watch a lot of films too. So I was watching a film one day, and I just misheard this line as Varjak Paw, and I thought immediately, what a great name for a cat, Varjak Paw. There could be a whole family of paws, maybe. You could have like the elder paw, and you'd have these little paw kittens, and so that's where the idea came from.
What does Mesopotamia mean?
In the same place where there today is a country called Iraq, that was known for thousands of years as Mesopotamia. Now, Mesopotamia is where a lot of things began. Mesopotamia is the first place that human beings started to write things down. The first earliest human writing we know of is from Mesopotamia. So I like the idea that Varjak in his dreams would go back to the origin of everything and learn the real truth, you know, about what it means to be a cat.
How did you get the names Sally Bones and Razor?
I think in a book, a name is really the first thing you know about a character is their name. It's almost like the face of an actor in a film. The first time you see somebody's face on the screen, you form some kind of idea about what they're like. Are they good? Are they bad? What are they like? You know. And it's the same with a name. So the first time you see the name, you're going to know something about that character. Now, Sally Bones, I wanted to make Sally Bones a character you could tell there was something to be scared of there. So I was thinking, yeah, you know, the idea of death is about the scariest thing there is. So Bones, you know, Sally Bones. But I wanted to make it a bit ambiguous, like she's not a straight up villain, you know. So Sally is kind of a friendly name. So you've kind of got both, Sally Bones. In the second book, there are these characters called the Scratch Sisters. Now, those names took me forever. The Scratch Sisters are these lean, mean Siamese fighting machines. There are 3 of them. That's the Scratch Sisters there, as drawn by Dave. There's Eliza, Militia, and Pernicia. The Scratch Sisters are cats who you do not cross. They're like a girl gang of cats who are out there with their flick knives, claws on the street.
There's an incredibly good range of characters, so you can go into it and choose whether you're going to identify with the kind of strong, weak girl gang, boy gang, whatever.
I couldn't really say it's more a girl book or a boy book. And teachers generally report that, yeah, it works like that in classrooms. But boys quite like the fighting, apparently, and girls maybe like the cat aspect. I don't know, but everybody seems to find something. I think it's very important to have characters, strong characters of different genders and generations as well. So everybody's got something.
I like Tolly because she thinks she's all tough, but she's not, and she's got a soft side to her.
I like Cludge because I think he's really funny. At the end, he comes in at the end, or near the end, to help, and he gets through the wall eventually.
My favourite person is Cludge because I like Cludge because he's a bit like me as well because I'm quite energetic as well.
One thing I really like in Varjak Paw is the character of Cludge, the dog. Cludge is good. My idea with Cludge would be that, well, they're speaking different languages, you know. This lot are speaking cat and this lot are speaking dog. But the dog knows maybe a few words of cat, you know. It would be like you came across someone from Kazakhstan, you know, and they can say a little bit in English. And so that was my idea with Cludge, but everyone thought, the dog seems really stupid, which was never the point, you know. I thought the dog is really brave and he's really brilliant and I love him.
Razor is really funny as well because Razor, he's really angry and vicious and he's not kind or anything.
Sally Bones, her picture was really, really weird because she's got one eye. And her character was mean, and normally in books, boys are mean.
If you wrote this for humans, it would obviously be quite frightening for young children to read it. They'd think, there's that rather nasty, scary life out there. But it isn't like that in the book because they're cats. And because somehow it seems sort of natural to the cats to be in these groups and gangs. So I think they love that, and they love violence. They love the drama of that. They love the excitement of it. They love the sympathy. There's a lot of sympathy in this book. There's a lot of complicated emotions that are being explored.
This book is about trust, some people say, and who should you trust? It does seem to raise all of these questions, and I think those questions resonate on many, many levels. They resonate in playgrounds, I know, they resonate in classrooms. This guy's gang is throwing their weight around, what should the rest of us do about it? They resonate on the international stage, where certain nations throw their weight around, and what do the rest of us do about it? They've resonated throughout history. These questions have been going on since people can remember. I love the idea that whoever you are, you're going to bring something to the reading of these books. I've had people come up to me and say, this book was a marvellous allegory about fascism. And I thought, it's not exactly what I set out to do, but I'm really glad it works for you on that level. I've had people come up to me and say, this book is a really interesting exploration of family dynamics. Or, everyone reads it in different ways.
They've read a story which has taken them through a lot of adventures. It's enabled them to kind of know what it is like to feel brave and not brave, to know what it's like to feel loyal and disloyal. But above all, it makes them come out and see that you have to be sympathetic to the people around you.
Can he do his accent or the Cludge?
You want me to do a Cludge voice? Yeah. Oh my goodness, all right. It's all right, Cludge, she said quietly. You're not alone. We'll be friends, you and me. Friends? Panted Cludge. Varjak, Cludge, friends? Varjak grinned. Friends, he said. Friends, barked Cludge. He wagged his tail. Varjak, Cludge, friends, friends, friends! Yeah. You probably do it better than me. Do you want to give it a go? Cludge,
Of course he can't, snapped Holly. Everyone knows dogs can't climb. We'd be in big trouble if they could. Isn't there any other way? Dogs can't climb. No, they can't, said Holly. She frowned. This is the only way, isn't it? And I can tell from your face. It felt like falling through the air and never landing. They were so near, but the wall, that old stone wall, stood in the way once again. Glad sorry, said a small, scared voice beside him. What the hell, Varjak?
That's brilliant. I love that. That's fantastic. You should do it in the film. It's so nice to just see people who've really enjoyed reading a book, and it's obviously got into their imaginative lives. And,
it's been fantastic.
Yeah. But then it needs people like a really good teacher to bring the thing to life, That's...
I've tried.
I've tried. Well, I love your Cludge voice. That's fantastic.
That's years of watching the Muppets.
yeah, the Muppets were brilliant, weren't they?
Best.
I think the most important thing about the book is because it has a moral to the story, because Varjak wanted, his dream was to go outside and see the outside and not just his garden and his house. And that's just like telling other children, if you want your dreams to come true, you have to face all the consequences.